I am Ari Berman, voting rights reporter for Mother Jones, and I am here to tell you about 4 of the country's worst voter suppression laws. Let's start with Wisconsin. In 2011, Wisconsin passed one of the country's toughest voter ID laws, meaning that you had to have a Wisconsin driver's license or state ID to be able to vote. The federal courts found that 300,000 registered voters did not have these strict forms of ID. African Americans were 50% more likely than whites not to have this ID. College students were not allowed to use their college IDs to be able to vote. At Mother Jones, we talked to voters that couldn't cast a ballot. We talked to election officials that said this had a huge impact on the election. We cited studies from places like the University of Wisconsin that found that tens of thousands of people were turned away from the polls. Donald Trump only won the state by 22,700 votes. So Wisconsin's ID law helped tip the 2016 election to Donald Trump. Let's go to Texas. Under the voter ID law in Texas, you can vote with a gun permit, but not a student ID. Texas's voter ID law was actually blocked by the federal courts for discriminating against African American and Latino voters.
Minority communities in Texas disproportionately don't have those forms of ID.
But it was allowed to go into effect after the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in June of 2013. Federal courts found that 600,000 people did not have strict forms of ID required by Texas. African Americans and Latinos in Texas were 2 to 3 times more likely as whites to not have this ID, but now it's being supported by the Trump administration and Jeff Sessions' Justice Department as it works its way through the courts.
Earlier, a lower court judge called it unconstitutional, but now a federal appeals court is temporarily reinstating it, saying it is just too late to change the rules for the midterms.
Now let's move to Kansas. In 2013, Kansas passed a law requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote, meaning you had to have a passport, a birth certificate, or naturalization papers to be able to register. So this one law in Kansas blocked 1 in 7 people from being able to register to vote.
And again, we know that there are thousands of Americans who are eligible voters who just don't have these documents.
Nearly half of the people blocked from registering were under the age of 30. So this is one of the worst voter suppression laws in the country. And the Secretary of State of Kansas, Chris Kobach, wants to export these kind of laws all across the country.
But 4 states, including Kansas and Arizona, have said no, proof of citizenship, documentary proof is necessary because so many aliens are on our voter rolls.
And now let's talk about the laughingstock when it comes to voting in America, the state of Florida. 6 million people can't vote in this country because of felon disenfranchisement laws, meaning even after you've served your time and paid your debt to society, you can't vote. 1.7 million disenfranchised ex-felons live in the state of Florida. This law blocks 1 in 5 African Americans from being able to vote. And it dates back to the Jim Crow era. But it's not all bad news. There's an effort to overturn Florida's felon disenfranchisement law on the ballot in the 2018 elections. I'm Ari Berman from Mother Jones, and if you want to follow all of our voting rights coverage, go to motherjones.com.